And okay, thank you. Welcome back to One Piece Anime Re-Review, Part 33. Excuse me. This one covering the last 6 episodes of Fishman Island and 4 episodes of Z's Ambition. The Fishman Island arc. Well, these last 5 episodes, these last 6, it's kind of good I saved this for their own separate thing from Fishman Island because this is kind of in a way a mini arc in a way. It's basically the aftermath of all the craziness this arc basically brought. So, this particular set of episodes has debut of several characters, including one brand new location that won't be seen until Whole Cake. Yep. This arc has debut of Peckham's, Baron Tamango, Big Mom, and believe it or not, Pudding. Yes, these set episodes are these now. Pudding. That Pudding is kind of a surprise because some people probably assumed that she made her first appearance in Whole Cake. Nope. This is the arc it makes her debut. You don't see Big Mom fully per se. You don't get like a full good look at her. Not until much later per se. First off, you have Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro. Yeah, basically had the banquet. Everyone's all celebrating. Of course, not Zoro. Brook gets on the music stuff because he's the Soul King. He's awesome, and he gets on. And Diva has like no problem with it all because he's a famous singer, so why not? And everyone's so fun. And we have this one really good scene that happened afterwards, like after the party, where where Neptune thinks that Robin thinks that because Neptune because he's drunk, but he he stupidly thinks Rob was trying to seduce him. He was like, "Oh no, I'm faithful to my wife despite the fact she's dead." Then she says, "Who's Joy Boy?" And he kind of reveals what the promise was. The fact that he kind of broke his promise. About the Mermaid Princess. That basically it's kind of hinted at throughout this arc. Well, mentioned by, of course, Neptune, but it's a nice little thing when it comes to Robin. Luffy, on the other hand, of course, he brings some food, but first you have Jinbei basically debriefing the Straw Hats, basically what's been happening in the past couple years. The fact that the Blackbeard Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates had a battle, the Whitebeard Pirates lost. Blackbeard's become a new emperor, taking over all Whitebeard's territory, minus the Fishman Island that was taken over by Big Mom. Excuse me. Sengoku has stepped down, replaced by Akinijo. Yeah, him and Aokiji fought on this place. Which, believe it or not, the place that they fought is the place they're gonna go to in the next canon arc of the series, Punk Hazard. Let's see. Oh yeah, the Navy's a lot more stronger. They moved their headquarters from Marine Force to basically G1 in the New World. And the Navy is a lot more ruthless than it was before. And of course, Jinbei is taken aback by the fact that Luffy just somewhat oblivious while he's eating all this food. And he's like, basically, the crew takes care of the captain. And the crew basically understands it perfectly. And so if Luffy's sort of an idiot, they was like, what have I got myself into now? Before this, he's offered to join the crew. Jinbei wouldn't mind joining the crew, but he's got responsibilities. So he said to pass on it for now. But he'll keep the offer in mind when he meets up with again. In Whole Cake. Yes, that's going to be up again. Whole Cake after this. And then Luffy basically eats the food. Is like, I detect a monster here. So Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro go to the Hardshell Tower where basically, well, where Sarah Hoshi has her room. And Caribou attempts to kidnap her. And then at first, basically, it's like, everyone's like, go away. And then he's like, oh crap, you're here. And then, of course, Luffy just gives him one punch and knocks him out of the palace. Knocks him like 2 things down. And apparently he also was one who raided the treasury. And then Nami overhears the fact that he's got a treasure. So she basically pops Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji like, go get it. I thought it was so funny. And of course, there's also a hilarious thing where the Minister of the Right basically admitted, oh yeah, actually Minister Lett basically admitted that there was a special box that was taken, the Tamate box, which has got explosives in it, which King gets upset by it. Yes, and it happened 10 years prior when they stole the energy steroids. And then Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji find Caribou, perfectly fine. Yeah, they apparently one punch took him out, knocked all the treasure in him. They bag it up, and then they run into, and then that's when, believe it or not, Baron Tamongo and Peckham's show up. Peckham's is a mink who's got Devru power. He ate the turtle fruit. Okay. Thing with Peckham's. One, he's the first mink with Devru powers, and he's the second mink introduced in the series. More minks are introduced in the Zoo Island arc. Yep. The first one was Beppo. Yes, Beppo is a mink. And so that, like, the mom, you see her, she's drooling, she's looking forward to that candy from Fishman Island. There was one of her sons, I think one of her younger sons, show up, like, hey, I brought up basically their candy was too good. And we see Pudding just sitting in a chair, just have your eyes closed, just looking about. Yeah, she does nothing here, but yeah, that is Pudding, believe it or not. Yep. Which is kind of a strange way to make her debut, just randomly sitting in a chair, and just happen to be the same room as her gigantic mother. Yes, and she's the youngest of all the daughters. She's also the Master of Chocolate. Yep. So, then of course, well, she calls to figure out what's going on with the Fishman Island stuff, and of course, Peckham's overhears the fact Luffy ate all the candy and the fact what happened with Horty Jones, and the fact it'll take 2 weeks to build the candy factory. So we have it where Peckham's and Baron Tamongo are basically scared to pick up the transponder snail from Big Mom. So Luffy answers his, "Hi, this is Luffy." He's like, "This is Luffy, Future King." It's like, and of course Baron Tamongo, Peckham's like, "What the heck are you doing?" He says, "Well, where's all the candy?" He says, "I ate it all." He's like 2 tons of it. And why don't you take this treasure instead of basically attacking the island? And Baron Tamongo's like, that's not a bad idea. Why don't we take it as basically a response to Captain Kidd sinking one of our ships, which gained lots of money for us. And Big Mom's like, I can't eat money. But yeah, of course, Luffy's like, Captain Kidd, and Sanji's like, oh yeah, we met him back in Sabaody. And in case you're wondering, Kidd does show up I believe he shows up like once prior to Wano, where he, Basil Hawkins, and Scratch Arkshoe shall make an alliance to take on the Red Hair Pirates. I think that happens either in Punk Hazard. I think it happens in Punk Hazard. Either it's Punk Hazard or Zoo Island. It's one of the arcs when Kaido shows up, which I'll get to that. I'll probably discuss that whenever I get a chance to discuss it because, well, I'll be soon running out of Dev episodes soon, believe it or not. Yep, I'll get to that in a minute. So, Big Mom just accepts it, and of course, well, the Monkey Box is with them. And, of course, Nami beats up Luffy, Zoro, and Sanjo for let go of the treasure. Even though they were protect Fishman Island. So, they decided to leave with, of course, they got a new coat of paint. Things did. They basically declined an offer from Hanshin to be a guide, and, of course, well, Shirahoshi says goodbye to everybody while they're basically halfway away. And of course, well, I love the moment where Luffy and Fukaboshi basically just clash heads like actual sworn brothers that'll meet up again and get stronger. And it seems like they become really good friends. So, and of course, Shirahoshi basically meets them on the ship and said that next time we get stronger, you want to go see the surface. And of course, Luffy just wraps his tiny little pinky. This is a pinky promise. He wraps his little pinky because he can stretch. Of course, everybody chips in with the exception of you have him chip in, Zoro. Now Zoro actually does not chip in. Pretty much everybody except for Zoro chips in his pinky promise, which no one has a problem with it. Yep, which I thought was so nice. And then they go, and then the very next, and they go off and they say wave goodbye. But don't worry, not the last Mr. Shirahoshi. She shows up several times after this. First, she basically is seen going to Reverie, and then she's seen the Reverie arc, and that's it. That's all appearances made for her and the royal family. Which her return is actually in Dressrosa, believe it or not, when she goes off to the Reverie. Mm-hmm. Yep. But in the case of what happens next, well, they go out to sea and they end up basically catch some fish because they missed catching fish, and they caught in some kind of like snake tunnel thing, and they run into a bunch of whales that basically are the same type of species as Laboon, and I think it's Laboon, but nope, it's not him. He's on the other side of the world. So, of course, Brooke basically says that if you're looking for a big whale named Laboon, he's on the other side of the world. And then they all ride to the surface. And then, the episode ends, basically. It was everything's hunky-dory, and then they run into a bunch of marine ships. That is actually revealed to be a mirage. They revealed that in the very next episode. Yeah, the next 4 episodes are simply filler. Z's ambition. It's mostly put just set up for the film Z, which is the second big film released. It was actually, believe it or not, the third most recent film released before Stampede came out last year. Because before that was Gold. That was released. Well, there was an arc that came out that basically the setup for that actually came after Dressrosa, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So the arc is simply this. Luffy and the crew basically after fighting a bunch of, after they take care of the fake marine ships, they basically just relax. And of course, they basically took off their regular canon clothes, put out some clothes they wore for this arc. And then, of course, they're about to eat some food, and the food starts disappearing. Turns out it's actually a mini giant. Yep. And then they briefly fight. Of course, he's impressed by her because she knocked down Frankie. He's a tough guy to knock down, anyways. And the reason why and explains why she's out here. After she also briefly acted to see that she's saved by Sanji. She's looking for a far Pon Fry. And Sanji's heard of him. So Luffy hasn't, but Sanji has. Not surprising because he's a cook. So he apparently is a people's cook, where he basically cooks for a bunch of people. He also steals from other ships. He steals from government ships, steals from other pirates, basically steals their food, gives other people. And he was captured by the Navy, so he's then impelled down. So, and of course they also mentioned about his volcanic cooking, which they do get that in the final episode of this arc. We also have apparently a guy from the Neo Navy show up, which we'll get to that. Then we run into a character who is canon, by the way, and this, believe it or not, is his only appearance post-time skip. Momonga in the anime. He did appear in Return of Sabaody, but that was his only post-time skip appearance. But here, it's okay, he's here, and Luffy's like, oh, hi. And of course, I love the fact that Zoro takes it. I was like, how strong is he? He's a vice admiral. I was like, huh, interesting. And they briefly skirmish, and then, of course, the Neo Navy shows up, and he's like, what the heck is going on here? And he knows the guy, because he apparently is no colleague of his. And they briefly skirmish, and of course they escape with Pon's Fry on a piece of the raft. The Luffy takes time to take off his mask he wears on his head, and Zoro cuts his chains. Because the plan was originally this, that Robin, Brooke, and Chopper going to marry be distraction, while Sanji, Luffy, Zoro, Usopp, and Luffy was actually over the distraction. He just joined the infiltration because he found the distraction routine to be so boring. Now I'm stationed at the command to be the commander on the horse, and Frankie's in charge of the ship. Good. And everything goes fine until the Navy shows up, and of course, they have a big battle. They do get away, and of course they try and I thought it was so funny. It was funny with the whole thing with booze, a couple times here. First, it's she ate all the food and drank all the booze. And Zoro's like, oh, hell no. And she takes out his sword. He does the same thing later when she brought the food. He's like, Lil, but she all the food for the volcanic cooking. He's like, really? He's like, and he mentioned about booze. He's like, okay, cool. Because he loves drinking booze. So it's about to start cooking, and then the Neo Navy shows up again. They fight, and of course, Luffy does battle the guy again, has a rematch, though it's a lot more better handled. And of course, Lily, who ate the mini fruit, can actually shrink down. Of course, he's about to go inside the action villain, but look if he goes on Luffy, but Luffy's a rubber, so he's perfectly fine to survive this. And Luffy beats the guy, destroys the guy's ship. Of course, they get tied up anyways, and they can hand it off to the Navy, the real Navy. As in the case of the cooking, okay, let's catch some food, along the way, cook the thing on cooking, and they try it and they love it. And look at how Frankie basically retrofitted the raft he was on to basically kind of look like a giant frying pan, which Key and Hope it's probably just a nod to basically the fact he's an actual cook. In the case of Neo Navy guys, well, they met with Momonga. He says basically take Impel down. It's like, and he tells him you'd be the mercy of the law because you broke the law. And well, then we show the actual villain Z, who show up in the actual film. He is his right hand woman, which Sarosha basically thought he should be the right hand man, not the woman, because of basically sexism. I don't know why, because he thinks it's stronger. So basically, that leads into the film Z. What are we discussing and thinking? I don't know, but when the case of these episodes overall, the post stuff with Fishman Allen, that's fantastic. Great setup for basically for Punk Hazard and Whole Cake. Nothing for Dressrosa and Zoo, mind you, but yeah. But basically, it does sub next direct arc Punk Hazard and does sub Whole Cake, which is fantastic. The fact it does sub Whole Cake because Whole Cake has not been dubbed yet. They've only dubbed like the first 16 episodes, at least the first, I believe it's the first 26 episodes of Punk Hazard. Basically, about half of the arc has been dubbed so far, which I'll be discussing that in my next video. Basically, a quick little two-parter, and then the last couple videos will be for this review series will be Boss Luffy, and of course the film takes place during a time skip, which I'm looking forward to reviewing that one. And what basically review series to do next? Well, I'm thinking of re-reviewing Naruto. Why? Because I'm going to make up for a past mistake that I made 3 years ago when it came to reviewing the original series, because I attempted to review a 228 episode series in one video. That was a mistake on my part, and I'm going to make up for that mistake when I get to Naruto. Okay, so that's it for Cyclical Review. Stay tuned for reviews today for the newest episode of One Piece, the newest episode of Boruto, and I didn't check yet, but I think there's a new chapter of My Hero Academia. I don't know, but I'll check it. I'll check it soon. If not, basically expect there's 2 more videos today. Okay. Well, actually about 3, because I think I probably have to get through the first half Punk Hazard, the first half of the episodes of Relief Punk Hazard, no problem. Okay, to the next video. Bye.